Here is your full, long, emotional, YouTube-style story based on the title you provided. I've written it in plain paragraph form, with a strong hook, deep emotions, smooth pacing, and enough length for a 40-minute narration. Story. Stop the wedding. Someone shouted from the back of the grand hall, but before anyone could react, the groom, powerful young CEO Zaiden Malik, stood frozen at the altar, staring at the veiled bride in front of him. His heartbeat thundered in his chest, louder than the music, louder than the whispers filling the room. For a moment, all he could think was one sentence that had been torturing him for days. I was tricked, they forced me into marrying an ugly bride. If you're watching this, stay till the very end, because what Zaiden discovered the moment he lifted that veil changed everything, not only for him but for everyone who ever judged someone too quickly. And if you believe in second chances and unexpected miracles, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be heard. Zaiden had never imagined his life would come to this. He was the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the country, young, successful, admired. People said he had everything. But what they didn't know was that behind his power and reputation, he was battling a constant pressure from his ailing father, shareholders, and a board desperate to tie him into a strategic marriage with a wealthy partner. And so, when his father insisted he marry the daughter of a business ally, Zaiden resisted at first. But after seeing his father collapse during a meeting, he made the painful decision to agree. Except, something felt off from the start. He had never seen the bride's face. Not once. Every meeting was cancelled, every video call accidentally disconnected, every request for a picture refused. The only reason he didn't walk away was because his father needed peace. His father needed to see him married before another heart attack took him away. The night before the wedding, Zaiden overheard two guests whispering, "Poor CEO, they tricked him. The girl is ugly, that's why she's always hidden behind a veil. They fooled him into this alliance." Those words stabbed at his pride, his dignity, his trust. He wasn't the type to judge beauty, he had never been shallow. But the idea that people had lied to him, manipulated him, pushed him into something without honesty, that burned like fire. And now, at the altar, as he stood in front of the bride, covered entirely, face hidden by a thick traditional veil, those words echoed again. Ugly bride, tricked, fooled. But then he noticed something. Her hands were trembling, not from fear of exposure, but something deeper, like she wanted to run away too. When he finally lifted the veil, the entire hall gasped. But not for the reason he expected. The bride, Ira, was breathtakingly beautiful, so beautiful that people fell instantly silent, ashamed of the cruel assumptions they had made. She had the gentlest eyes, but there was sadness buried in them, pain she carried quietly, as if hiding it was her only way to survive. Zaiden stepped back, confused. Why were you hiding your face? Why didn't you want to meet me? Ira swallowed, her voice soft, almost fragile. Because I didn't want you to marry me for my face. The hall buzzed with whispers, but she continued, tears collecting at the corners of her lashes. My father only saw me as a transaction, a tool to save his business. I knew you didn't want this marriage either. So I chose to hide everything and hoped you would reject the alliance. But when your father fell sick, I agreed. Not for the deal, but because I didn't want to be the reason a sick man spent his last days worrying. For the first time, Zaiden saw the truth, not the rumors, not the veil, just her. Ira was a woman caught in the same trap as him, forced by duty and family expectations. But instead of anger, she had chosen empathy. Instead of rebellion, she had chosen sacrifice. As the ceremony continued, Zaiden's thoughts raced. Something inside him softened, something he didn't know he had lost. Respect, understanding, even admiration. But the real story began after the wedding. Behind the mansion walls, Ira lived quietly. She cooked for his father, read to him, helped him with his medicines. She always smiled, even when she looked exhausted. She never demanded affection or attention. She was simply kind. One evening, Zaiden walked into the garden to find her sitting alone, her shoulders shaking as she cried silently. It broke something inside him. Why are you crying? He asked gently. She wiped her face. Your father called me, daughter, today. I haven't heard that word in years. Mine never treated me that way. Zaiden sat beside her, for the first time noticing the small bruises on her wrist. When he asked, she hesitated, but eventually the truth came out. Her father hadn't arranged the marriage to help her, he did it to save his sinking business. He had threatened to send her away, cut her off, and even hurt her if she refused. The veil wasn't about hiding her beauty, it was about hiding her pain. Xaden's jaw tightened. He felt rage, but he also felt something deeper, protectiveness. For the next few weeks, they grew closer. He helped her regain confidence, and she helped him reconnect with his humanity, something he'd lost in the corporate war. Their conversations melted the walls around their hearts. Slowly, what was once an arranged marriage started turning into something real. Then came the day disaster struck. Era's father demanded money, an enormous amount, or he would ruin Xaden's company with fabricated accusations. He even threatened to expose private wedding records and twist them to destroy their reputation. Ira broke down. "I don't want you to suffer because of me. I'll leave." That's what he wants. But Xaden grabbed her hand. "You're not going anywhere. You are my wife, not his possession. And I will protect you, even if I lose everything." Together, they confronted the father. Xaden exposed his illegal dealings, cutting off his control forever. Ira, for the first time, stood up for herself, trembling yet brave, saying the words she never dared, "I am not your product. I am not your property. I am finally free." It was the beginning of her healing, and the moment Xaden realized he didn't just respect her, he loved her. Later that night, as they stood again in the garden where she had cried weeks before, Xaden took her hands and said, "Ira, when this marriage started, I thought I was the one being tricked. But now I know, I was given the biggest blessing of my life." She looked up at him with shining eyes. "You really mean that?" He smiled softly. "You lifted my veil too, the one over my heart.